Hello, Facebook Live. Welcome to another edition of Collaborate to Win, sharing product knowledge. I'm Heather McManus. I founded Collaborate to Win, and I hope today to share with you some helpful advice about selling furniture when you don't have a showroom to use. So that's today's topic, and it was funny for me to shift gears and try this new way of doing things. And it's one of the biggest questions that I get from designers when they're thinking about changing up the way they do things to make a little bit more money well, it's not a little bit more money, it's a lot more money selling this new way. So, all right, so I think your mind can tell you different things sometimes, and it may not always be true. So some of it is shifting your mindset, and some of it is just doing things slightly differently than you did before. So I used to work for some furniture stores, and so I'm going to tell you a helpful story. And this is something that I kept in the back of my mind when I started to shift the way I was selling furniture without having a showroom to go to, because I did start with the furniture stores, but I also worked for the furniture stores. So back about 10 years ago, I worked for a really high-end, very large showroom, just one town over. It was a great commute. So family-run, nice business. Hey, Elizabeth, thanks for joining. So in this giant showroom that we had, I don't know, God, maybe 100 different manufacturers on the floor and able to go to the catalog and choose from. So tons of variety, and their lowest price point was probably Vanguard, was probably their starting point, and then it went up from there. So, so the people that would come in, you had a rotating system called an up system. So whoever walked in the door when it was your turn, that was your customer. So you would just say, what do you need? And if they need a sofa, you take them through the whole showroom and walk them around. And we literally had at least 100 sofas on the showroom floor, probably 30 different manufacturers represented. So we would go around and sit in each one and find the right one. It was pretty often, I would say 95% of the time, that the customer isn't going to buy the exact sofa that they're sitting on, because we didn't sell off the floor. I mean, if it was a floor sample sale, then you would, but that's not the everyday norm. So you have to go to a room of fabric to choose from, right? The whole amazing choices of fabric to choose from, and narrow down which fabric was going to be on that sofa if they found a frame they liked. So the customer has to use their imagination to put the new fabric on the sofa that they picked out. They're probably also changing the leg finish, and they might be changing the cushion, right? Whatever goes inside that cushion, there are options there too. So what they sat on in the showroom might have been so close to what they were getting, but the fabric would change, the leg finish would change, and maybe even the cushion would change. So it's not ever exactly what they were buying. So that should be helpful. Then the amount of times that they didn't find a sofa they liked at all was pretty common. So what I would do then is I would take them to the catalog. So they would probably say, well, this one is the closest, but I don't like the arm, or I don't like the nail heads, or I don't like the whatever about that one. So I would say, well, let's look at that catalog. So we would go and we'd look through the catalog, flipping the millions of pages of the catalog to find just the right sofa. And they would be able to say, well, I liked that one, so I understand the quality of that. So I think that I will like this too, because they got to see the quality of something at that showroom. But they were still buying a sofa from just a picture and a little swatch of fabric. So from my ability to sell from a photo and a little fabric, I knew I could do it without having a showroom, without having them sit in it. So a lot of times sales comes down to confidence. If you are confident in what you're selling, they will be confident in what you're selling. Um, so I even had a showroom for a short time because I thought it was really important for them to come and sit on the brand that, you know, was my favorite. And that way they could know that they could buy the different frame, the different fabric, the different whatever, but get a sense of the quality. And it was like pulling teeth to get them to come to the showroom to sit on it because my clients were busy, overwhelmed by choices, and they just wanted me to do it. So that's been a blessing. And I know that not every client is like that, where they trust you so heartedly that they say, if you say this is the good company, then this is the good company. And I think I'm able to do that because I've put the time and energy in, and I have a lot of experience, you know, back in my history of working for furniture stores, to know all these different manufacturers, how they compare to each other. And then the big thing I would say is the thing that will give you some confidence, aside from you telling yourself I can do this, right, would be to go to High Point. That's the big one, right? High Point, North Carolina has a furniture market that is seriously the whole town, the whole little city there. It's all showrooms that you go when you wander through. So each manufacturer has a decent sized showroom for you to go and see everything and learn a ton. So I highly, highly recommend you go to this event that's going to either happen coming up. You're probably too late if you haven't started planning now because it's in April. And it's always in April and October. So those are your two opportunities. In the April market, they introduce more new collections than in the October. The October, they've kind of tweaked things and see what's selling, what's not selling, and maybe they introduce something, but it's not as much as what they introduced in April. Either way, it's worth going to either market. So when you are able to sit on a showroom's, offering and feel the different cushions, see all the different fabrics, learn what their general style is, because most manufacturers kind of have a little bit of a style, and they've all learned that they need to have some modern and some traditional and some transitional. But if they've always been more traditional, then their idea of modern may not be as modern as you want. But if the company's identity has always been more contemporary, more modern, then they're probably more of the company that you should be looking at for what you like. And that's probably what your clients like, because they would be attracted to your portfolio and your general vision. So one way to do this, because it's overwhelming, right? There's so many options out there, is to look at their websites. So even when you go to High Point, you really need a game plan. You need to have an idea of which companies you want to go see, because if you just show up and start wandering around, I don't know how you would do that. You really kind of need to focus in on, these are the must-see companies, these 5, because I've narrowed down to these. That's how I did it. I did probably a month's worth of research before I went the first time. So I had Hickory White and CR Lane, and I wanted to sell Lee too, but there's another manufacturer, or not a manufacturer, a retail store near me that sells Lee, so they didn't want me to have Lee. Some companies are like this. If there's somewhere nearby, they don't want another one. So I couldn't sell Lee, and I couldn't sell someone else, Taylor King. I liked their stuff too. And there was somebody that sells it nearby, so they didn't want to have another competitor in the same region. So it was pretty much narrowed down to like 2 or 3 that I felt were kind of my style, because I'm not overly traditional and I'm not super contemporary. I'm sort of in this middle of the road, more towards traditional, I would say. And then, so from that, I narrowed down to the manufacturers. So then when I went and saw all of the pieces, I was able to sit on everything and go, okay, this feels good. I'd lift the cushion, I'd feel the springs, I'd feel the arms, I'd feel everything. So I got a sense of their quality. And then I took a look at their price book and their catalogs to see how they have it laid out. And what I liked about CR Lane, which is why I focused on them, was they were like 20% less than the competitor. So if you take a standard sofa, which is 3 cushions on the seat and 3 cushions on the back, they call it a 3/3. If you take your standard sofa here and your standard sofa here, and you say, okay, well, this one costs $2,000, where this one costs $2,200. Okay, so it's the same thing, but they're charging a little bit more. Maybe because that company does more advertising. Maybe that's what you're paying for. Like Baker is a household name. Everybody knows who Baker is, and they're extremely expensive. You're paying for that advertising, just like Pottery Barn and Restoration Hardware. Those catalogs are not free. That printing and that mailing costs a lot of money. That is a lot of reason why that's so expensive, because the quality level and the price are not the same. So the way you gain confidence is by doing all of this research and getting clear on what it is that you like, don't like, how it sits, and then doing the homework to see which cushion you would suggest for each client. So that is knowledge that you have to do on your own. That's research you got to do on your own so that you can sell with confidence. Now, some tricks that I can tell you without any, you didn't go to the showrooms. You really do need to know what you're selling to do it with confidence. So even if you go to the local showrooms around or your local furniture stores and get knowledge that way, that's another way to do it. So the other big thing is inside measurements for upholstery. So generally speaking, case goods, I think it's a little simpler because you're not sitting on it. Some clients might insist on seeing it, and if that's their thing, then I probably wouldn't even try to sell them something. I would just send them somewhere else, because that's somebody that maybe is too fussy to be safely able to trust you or something. You have to feel out each client. There's definitely clients where I've said, you need to go to the store. You need to go to this store, ask for this person. They're really good. They'll get you set up with what you need. I don't need to take on somebody that's going to be a problem, because I don't have a showroom to bring anything back to if it is a problem. And most companies don't do a restocking fee. And if they do, it's pretty big, and you've got to still freight it back to them. So that's a mess. So you have to hear the red flags when you are dealing with certain clients. But the good client, the safe client, all of that, what you need to know is basically what they have now. So if you look at their sofa and you just take your tape measure and you measure the inside of their sofa, chair, whatever, that's the measurement that you want to find. So I've got here. So your inside measurement is from the back of the cushion here to, can you guys see this? Yeah. To the front of the cushion here. That's your inside measurement. So if you get to someone's house and their sofa that they've liked for the last whatever, how many years, is 21 inches, then this sofa will be good for you, because the depth inside depth is 21 inches. So that's a good, for their height, that's a good way to do it. And you'll notice this has a back cushion. So your overall depth is 37 inches. This is upholstered back, which is a good thing to do for someone with serious back problems, because firm is better for someone who has some serious back problems. They're just more comfortable on it. And you'll notice that this is going to be deeper because that back cushion isn't taking up any space. So this one's only 35 outside measurement, but it's 23 inside measurement. So those are the things that you keep locked down in your memory so that you can sell them something and know that they will be comfortable. So on top of upholstered backs being good for people who have back problems, it's good for older people too. And generally, as you get older, you need more help getting up out of things. So tonight I'm going to go help a client who's in Jersey City. And so everything, that they want is all this super low contemporary stuff. Well, I find it really hard. Well, not really hard, but it's getting harder to get up out of that. My knees are not happy. I'm making noise when I get up out of something that's low. So to think about someone's age and say, well, that is going to be kind of tricky for you as you get older. Once you're into your 60s and stuff, you don't want to have to make horrible noises getting up out of a sofa. So a little higher, a little standard height for that sofa would be good. And generally speaking, I think a wing chair makes the best chair for someone who's got some aches and pains, whether it be health issues or age. It's something that you can lift yourself out of because you've got a nice strong arm, you've got an upholstered back, and it just sits you properly. And so that's some good tricks for selling without the showroom. So a lot of it is telling yourself that you can, that you have the confidence in what you're selling to know it, and having confidence in the client that you're dealing with. Because if there's some red flags happening, if they constantly return things because they're always unhappy with stuff, this may not be the client that you sell custom furniture to directly. You may send them to the furniture store and tell them, talk to this person, they'll do a great job for you. And then if there's an issue, they can return it there. Because not everyone, is someone that I will deal with for that kind of stuff. But I do find that my clients really like it when I take control of this aspect, because it's like, okay, I can relax. She knows what she's doing. She's showing me, instead of like hundreds of thousands of options, because that was the other thing. When I took them to the furniture store, they were overwhelmed. They're like, oh my God, this is shiny over here and that's shiny over there. And now I'm confused. Whereas when I work with a client and we're in their house, I've only brought a few options to show them and a couple fabrics. So I've done the hard part for them. I've narrowed down based on what they've liked in the past, what they've told me, gleaned all those little golden nuggets out of their brain, and put together a design that they would like. And suddenly they're like, oh, that's what I want. I like that. Let's order that. And then I do the shipping stuff and I get it delivered to my warehouse. And now I'm scheduling their delivery when they're at work and they've given me either a key or the code to the house, and I let myself in and I wait for the guys to show up, because they give you the 2 or 3 hour window of time. Nobody has time for that. I'll take that on, have the client, I'll text them a photo of their furniture of, oh, it looks so great, style it a little bit. And then when they get home, their new furniture is done. It's there. It's a huge benefit to the client the way I'm doing things now. And I'm making a lot more money. I'm in control of things. I know what it all costs. I know what I can make on it. I've got my system down. So this has been so much of a better way of doing things, because really, when I had 100 options of sofas to choose from, the amount of time they still go to the catalog and buy something they've not seen happened a lot. Like probably 50% of the time. So even with a showroom, you don't necessarily get to show them exactly the thing that they wanted. So just keep that in mind it can be done this way. You don't need the showroom. You really don't. What else can I tell you? Well, the other point was that we are getting more and more conditioned to not see something because we're all buying stuff online, whether it be, Amazon or whoever, it just shows up and we're like, sometimes we're disappointed. We're like, oh, that's what that is. Okay. And other times we're like, oh, I like it so much better than I saw it in the photo. So I think as your clients buy more and more things online, it's actually going to make them a little bit more comfortable with not sitting on it or not seeing it. However, if they've had the bad experience of oh, that's what I got, I didn't know it was going to be like that, then their trust in you has to be that much stronger because they've now had a bad experience that's going to taint their idea of things. So you got to prove your knowledge to them. You got to show them that you bring the tools, the experience, and High Point is the greatest way to do that because you can sit on everything. You can ask a million questions. You can compare it. You can literally walk across the street and compare it to this other guy and do your homework beforehand. Don't waste your time on a showroom that's not going to sell to you. So that I think covers everything. So your inside measurements, that's your key. Look at what they have. Measure from the back of the cushion, right? From the back of the back to this little part in the front cushion. That's your inside measurement. That's the key to seeing what they're comfortable on because it all depends on how tall they are. And also when we go and we shop in a store, we sit like we're going to have, tea with the queen. But when we're in our house, we're not doing that. Our legs are out. We're like putting the feet up. We're not sitting all prim and proper. So keep that in mind when you're speaking for your clients. Tell them, well, you're sitting like this in front of me right now, but actually, how do you watch TV? Like where and everything. And when you start talking to them about how they live and what's going to be best for them, they hear you hearing them, and that's really key because now the trust is built. You have their best interest in mind. You're going to be able to find them the thing that they want, and they will have that confidence in you. But you have to have confidence in yourself. So let me just tell you that every single one of you can do this. You can all start making a lot more money if you start purchasing direct. And yeah, you'll have to change your system up a little bit more than what you're doing now, if that's not what you're doing. But, there was a time where you didn't know how to brush your teeth. But I bet every day you brush your teeth now, right? Because it's just what you do. There was a time you didn't know how to do that, and now you don't even think about it. Elizabeth Guest says, awesome, Heather, all good points. Thank you. And I hope that this was helpful. So have a great end of your week. Happy Thursday to everyone, and I will see you next week. If you've got any ideas for topics, I'm all for it. I was going to talk probably freight and delivery. One of the more scary things I think people are afraid of with ordering direct, because if you haven't done it before, it's just that. It's learning new stuff. But once you've done it, it's just like brushing your teeth. You just do it. So that's it for today. I'll see you next week. Okay, bye everybody.